Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Michael's Record Collection, where we talk about great music with the people who make it and the people who love it. I'm with four guys who make great music. The entire band, Echolyn. Echolyn, how you doing?
Great.
Great. Good.
I've
Thanks for having.
I've had four guests on simultaneously before, but that was a seven-piece band. You guys are the whole band. This is the first time I've ever had the whole band on the show, and I want to introduce everybody. So I'm going to go clockwise as I see you on my Zoom call here. So we're going to go with top left. I'm seeing Ray Weston, bass and lead and backing vocals up there.
Hello. Good evening, everybody.
Then on my right, I'm seeing drummer Jordan Perlson, drums and percussion.
Hello, music lovers.
My bottom left on my screen is Brett Kull, guitars, lead and backing vocals.
Hello, everyone.
And last but not least, Christopher Buzby, keyboards and backing vocals.
Woo!
Interesting show. We are going to talk about two albums that have been out for a little while. You guys probably forgot all about them by now.
Oh, not at all.
They're called TimeSilentRadio II and TimeSilentRadio 7. There is no 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's just those two. And these two companion albums, as it were, they were put out at the same time, March 7th. You guys self-released them earlier this year. And I've been really enjoying them and want to get into them with you. But before we do that, I'm going to do what I always do and ask everybody their first favorite record. And I guess I'll go the same order. Ray, what was your first favorite record? First record you fell in love with?
I'm going to have to say Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Black Sabbath.
Okay. Well, that explains nothing about the sound of Echolyn, but all right. Jordan.
First record I ever fell in love with that made me fall in love with music in general was the Living Color record, Vivid.
Nice. Brett?
Mine would be Hermit's Greatest Hits. Yeah, that was a really good one. I love Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter, and I'm Henry the Eighth I Am. That whole collection of Greatest Hits was great.
And Chris?
10 years old, first album I bought, still love it. AC/DC, Back in Black.
Nice.
Great rock record.
Absolutely. I with all of you guys here, I don't want to get into everybody's background, but just were any of you not from a musical family?
I was not.
I was not either.
I wouldn't say musical. You know, my father sang in the church choir. I joined him in the church choir, back in the early 70s. That's it, really, for me. My mother could play the piano, but not really, just classic old songs.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that's real musical, but.
So as far as like musical training, I know, Chris, you had a teacher who sadly passed away, but you had some lessons as a kid. Did everybody else just kind of pick things up and start on their own and then maybe get a little training along the way? Is that how it went for you guys?
Yeah, for me, definitely. I just took to it immediately as my furthest back memories. I remember playing piano or and then later on guitar, probably in third or fourth grade starting with. So I've always loved music. I've had a good ear for it too, just growing up. I don't know if that came in utero or whatever, but I'm an anomaly in my family. There's nobody else really that has a musical ear or sense of timing or anything like that. Jordan, you were saying the same thing with you too, or not?
Yeah, I mean, my brother played guitar and started playing guitar before I started playing drums. He's 5 years older than me, but it was weird. It's totally bizarre. He was like deeply into like the shred world of like Steve Vai and Satriani and Van Halen and all that stuff, and he could play everything note for note. And not only is he not, like, when I say he hasn't touched a guitar in like 30 years, or maybe not 30 years, yeah, probably 30 years. We have cousins who like, they don't play super seriously, but there's like guitars around their house. So he just walks right by them, doesn't even pick them up and like strum a G chord or anything. It's like, it's become this completely alien thing, but he had committed all this time. But other than that, my parents didn't play anything, like not didn't even take piano lessons as kids, kind of thing. And my mom has a distant cousin who was a professional violist and played on a lot of records in LA in the 70s and 80s and early 90s. But the most influence he had on me was trying to discourage me from going into music and getting any further into it. So did not come from a musical family.
Good to know. I was trying to figure out where these two records sort of fall in the numerical sequence, because if you look at your album catalog, your discography, if you count And Every Blossom as an EP, then these would be, I guess, numbers 9 and 10. But if you don't count When the Sweet Turns Sour, which is kind of an anomaly album, also, it's kind of like, is this like, what do you consider it, 9 and 10?
I haven't counted them, to be honest with you. Yeah, I would. I think When the Sweet Turns Sour, I wouldn't count that. That was Let's Get Out of Jail album.
Leftovers.
Yeah. We got to pay our debts because we just got dropped. But other than that, I mean, yeah. What number are we at, guys? If you,
I think it would be 9 and 10 if you left that one out, because my brain these were 10 and 11, but that's if you counted.
Right. Okay. Yeah, 9 and 10.
So things out based on EP or leftover.
They keep getting better and better every time.
So 9 and 10. We'll go with that. We'll go with 9 and 10. And it was so these were released 30 years after As the World, which actually I just showed you guys. This is my first exposure to Echolyn, and fantastic. Can't recommend that highly enough. This was again, you're looking at 10 albums over that period of time, and again, it's been a long time since your last album came out, and you worked on this starting in 2018. But again, before we jumping around, before we get into the albums themselves, the band was formed in Pennsylvania in the 80s. And I'd like to hear the Echolyn origin story. Who wants to tell me the Echolyn origin story? How did you become Echolyn?
Start it, and then Ray maybe jump in from there, and then we'll just
Ray and I were in a cover band together for about 4.5 years. That was kind of like my college experience of learning how to play in front of people. We split up for about a year. I took off and bought some recording equipment, and then started an original band with this guy, Jesse Reyes, and another drummer. And we were doing some covers, but I wanted to do original songs. And within probably 6 months, we got together like that fall of 1989, and we immediately, all of us just clicked, and we all wanted to do our own songs. I think we had to do some covers at first because we didn't have a repertoire out, so we wanted to play in some bars and things. So we built it. We put out an album in 92, or actually 91, 92, 93, and then we had all of As the World done in 93, so we could have put it out in 94, but the label just held everything up. So within that 5 to 6 year period, we put out a lot of music. Really, we're a machine, and we took off for a little while.
Yeah. So you did the one album on Sony.
Yeah.
But what really happened with Sony? Because it just didn't seem like. Did you ever get an explanation of why they didn't really push you guys?
We have, yeah. We've gotten all kinds of explanations.
Maybe we know too much at this point.
Yeah, and none of it is good or in our favor. But with that said, this is a deterministic universe. So we're here now talking because of that. If you think about it that way, and we're fortunate now to have a lot of great albums. And to be playing with Jordan, frankly, after all these years, he's been part of the scene since probably 98 or 99, just hanging out and working on music with us. And it's kind of cool that we get to make this stuff with him now after all this time. And none of this would have happened now without all that stuff happening then. So I don't think any of us really had aspirations of being rock stars. I think we all just wanted to make money writing songs. I mean, I think that would be something that I would still like to do. Jordan's still a professional musician, and Chris is teaching, so we're all doing our own thing with music in its own way. I think it all worked out perfectly in the end. I really do. You can get bitter about certain things, but you really can't. It's just, life is like that. And there were reasons for us getting dropped by the label, but it's all under, all in the past.
Yeah. I guess it has to be frustrating when you have an opportunity to go out and find an audience and you think you've got your big break, and then it just kind of doesn't work out. And I can understand, how that would be frustrating. It's like you're right there. All you need is the people with the money to use it and help you out. And they believed in you enough to sign you, but then they don't help you out. And it just seems like it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. Well, it's like getting a new job. You sort of land that job that you've been really trying to get for years. You put a lot of time into maybe a college education or learning a craft. You get that job and it's like, oh, I'm here. I can do it. And then they fire you. That's what it's like. It's about the closest to that.
I was explaining.
I was just gonna say I worked in pro sports, and it was my dream job, and then they eliminated my position, so I can understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. I was explaining to my middle schoolers the other day that when we were offered a contract from Sony, they wanted 9 albums up front. Like, that's what they wanted to sign us for. And our entertainment lawyer and people were like, you can't sign for that long. That could be over 20 years of your life. And the lowest number we could get them to was 7 albums. And I remember thinking we had won this huge victory, forgetting that after every single album, they had a 9-month grace period where they could drop us. So we fought from 9 to 7 at an album, and 9 months later, they're right to drop us because we have copies. And it was like, what was all of it? Yeah, you think you got something, and then you just find out, well, it's they wanted us to hit. And in some ways, they maybe weren't allowing us to because they maybe didn't want us to. Companies need tax write-offs as well. So like Brett said, you live and learn. We were bitter for a little while, but I agree with Brett. We wouldn't be sitting here now, and we would not be holding these 2 Time Silent Radio records, which I'm proud to say I think are masterpieces. I think it's the best work we've done, and I'm excited to see where we might go next.
Well, spoiler alert, I agree with you on both of those points. So
thank you. Thank you.
The end is beautiful, as you once said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I want to read the way I wrote the next question. I want to read it right off my notes. In 2012, you put out a self-titled album, but you already had one of those, your first album. WTF?
Well, technically, the first album, there is no title. So the first album had Echolyn on it, that we call, the window album. It's an untitled album. There's no Echolyn, there's no title or anything like that. And we wanted to leave that up to people buying it. And everyone was like, oh, this is self-titled album. It's like, but it technically wasn't. So it's kind of cool. The debate is out there.
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at it and you have to have something to call it, and you see one word and you use that word, or you see the word on the spine of the CD or whatever.
We had a joke that, not comparing us to Led Zeppelin, but I'll do that. But it's like Led Zeppelin 4. There's no titles on it. It's just a picture of a hermit. In our case, we got a window. That's it. All the lyrics are on the inside, and it sort of stands for itself.
I still know people that call it Zoso.
Yeah, I used to do that too. Yeah.
I'm gonna say 35 years before Reddit, and you guys were creating Reddit material.
Yes.
For people to argue about such places.
What is so weird is we can write all this music and all these lyrics, and every single time we need a title for it, we struggle coming up with a title. So in that case, we just could not land on something the community band would rally around. So we just said, let's just put it out with the picture of the window pane. You can look through a window. You can be seen back through a window. It reflects things. Cool. Let's put that out.
Good to know. Well, I will start calling it the Window album then. I have a question about an album title that I will bring up in a little bit, but I wanted to start with saying one thing that I think is really I think speaks highly of Echolyn's music. It's that I find Echolyn's music to be extremely difficult to describe to people who have never heard you. I wondered, how do you describe your music to people that haven't heard your band?
Honest.
Yeah.
Jordan, what would you say?
I've been talking about it obviously a lot more with the new records out. I've been kind of dancing around like it's prog, but it's not heady prog. You know, when you say prog, there's like all this insinuation of math and fantasy.
Prime numbers.
Oh, sure. But I was like, but it's not that. Like it's this prog not led with the brain, it's led with the ear. You know, and which takes it out of the head, you know, to me. So that's kind of how I describe it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of, for lack of a better term, wankery, you know, the extra widdly bits throughout the songs and a lot of noodling.
I think that's because we're all sort of song people in general, so we like arrangements and things. So we do think about that rather than jamming, which is there's nothing wrong with that at all either. But we're not really that kind of a thing. I think we all generally like songs, you know, arrangements and things like that, whether it's classical, jazz, or rock. I always just call it like indie music because it is independent, and whatever that means, you know, it's just independent, you know, music, rock music. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure either.
And over the years, Michael, it's funny when people bring up the word prog, we often have said, well, we're progressive. Like if you open the dictionary and look at that word, it means constantly moving forward, making constant progress. That's really who we are. We're a truly progressive group who happens to fit into the prog rock or progressive rock genre. But I laugh about the weedly wee and the wankery because I agree with you. I like being wankery and weedly wee. Yeah. I do that when I'm warming up. And then when it's time to play, I like to write songs and I like to play cool chord progressions and put beautiful melodies over top of them. So what we found in our music is we don't feel the need to put the wankery and the weedly wee into our songs because sometimes that's just a distraction and it gets in the way. So we can do that. We know we can do that. We've done elements of that on earlier albums, but we're almost like streamlined now where it's like, it's about the song. And don't get us wrong, it still took us 28 minutes to write a song on Time Silent Radio 2, just like it took us almost 17 minutes to write the other song. But again, they're songs, they're sections, they're parts. They're almost like mini orchestral pieces rather than a look what we can do because we can do that.
Yeah, it's not playing for playing's sake. It's for example, very simple part in Silent Years. There's a guitar part and a piano part playing the same exact part. It's not complicated, but it sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for picking up on that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's honestly awesome. It's one of my favorite parts on 7. You get the guitar and the piano playing the same part. You've got the bass just really driving it along, and Jordan's doing his thing underneath it, and it's just this really cool groove that's almost kind of like pulling that melody along.
Oh, I wonder if that's the Running Man theme you were joking about. Remember?
I do remember.
Yeah,
the new one just came out this weekend.
It did. Yeah, I'm curious to see that. Yeah,
I'm really pumped to see it. Anyway,
maybe it's that one. So that bit sort of is cool. It switches between a major key and a minor key, just in a real seamless way, back and forth on that riff in that song. And Jordan plays a great groove through it. You know, it's really nice.
Yeah. And Michael, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of times, things that make songs cool are like a super tight groove with a melody over top that makes the groove pop more, but the groove's making the melody pop.
Yeah.
And so like those are the kinds of magical things we're going for. I'm with you. People often say, well, what does Echolyn sound like? And I'm like, here, just listen to this. Like, I don't even know what to say sometimes, because it's like you just have to hear it.
Yeah.
And again, we've always taken that as a compliment. We don't want to be sort of derivative. We definitely don't want to be regressive. And there's plenty of bands who do that, and they're good at it, and it's what they want to be known as. We want to be truly progressive. Like the next thing we do will be different than Time Silent Radio albums, because that's just who we are. We'll push ourselves beyond that. Again, not knocking anything we've done recently. I Heard You Listening, love that album. Window Pane album, love that album. End Is Beautiful, love it. But they're little moments in time. We captured these moments as a group. And then when we do the next thing, let's go capture what that is yet.
So the only thing I could think of is I hear some sort of Beatlesy stuff from time to time, but it's kind of hard to know if somebody's actually influenced by the Beatles or if they're influenced by another band that was influenced by the Beatles, because you've got that, building blocks, one band influences another band, which then influences another band, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, the generation that we are,
Yeah.
Gen Xers, and you cannot be, not be influenced by the Beatles. They're sort of, putting into popular music those kind of harmonies that have been around a long time before that in jazz and classical. Yeah, that's an influence, definitely, as is tons of other things. But yeah, Beatles, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk about the title,
Yeah.
because first,
And more recent.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, more recently, even bands like Jellyfish, Imperial Drag, bands who are also influenced by that, but who also bring that element into their vocal harmonies. We dig and like stuff like that too. Jason Faulkner, long list.
That's interesting. You brought him up. Coincidence. I was just listening to the Grays today.
The Grays are another one. Yeah. XTC, all that stuff. That's a long line of Beatles influence artists.
Yeah, that power pop and those melodies and the harmonies all.
Well, then you've got, Jimmy Webb, like Wichita Lineman and stuff like that's all part of our DNA too. All that stuff from the 70s. Bread, even, I think David Gates stuff. It's just, those are great melodies. That's all part of the fabric, just because of that's what we grew up with. And I mean, Ray's the oldest, and then myself, then Chris, then Jordan. But we all have different things that we bring into this from just the age group, where music sort of affects you the most. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So Time Silent Radio. Now, is this supposed to be written as one word, stylized as one word, or three? Because I've seen it two different ways online.
Whatever way you want. Whatever way you want.
Yeah, however you want. It's definitely that order of words, Time Silent Radio. But we've done it with a hashtag sometimes just to make it connect to other people. Sometimes they're separated. You probably figured out where the words came from, knowing the album songs.
Yeah, the time has no place. You get time from that. You get silent from silent years, radio from radio waves. That's what I was going to ask you when I said earlier I have a question about the title. Is it, did you just go, let's just see what comes out of the hat if we look at these song titles? Is that how you came up with that?
No, it comes from the lyrics. A lot of the lyrics are related to our perception of time, and also the way to present music, which now has changed. When we all grew up, it was radio, and that's gone. So it's sort of, that fact that medium has sort of faded into obscurity almost, is a good representation of how time changes. And silent is a really interesting thing of just how, the sounds that we listen to, sometimes, it seems like sometimes they go away and they come back again. So it all sort of works together, and those kind of concepts are inculcated in the lyrics that we had for these two albums.
So go ahead.
I have a cool poster on my wall in my classroom. It says the same 6 letters that spell listen also spell silent. And I love reminding my students of that fact, because obviously that's a skill that we as humans need to grow into. But for us as musicians, it means something too.
Yeah. So the 2 and the 7, obviously the 2 has 2 songs on it. 7 has 7 songs on it. but there's more to it than that, because the 2 is capitalized, the 7 is lower, and that is the major 2 and the minor 7. Is that what we're talking about?
Can be.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're tools. Yep, they're both prime numbers too.
Okay.
But they're also lesser known used chords, and that's something we pride ourselves in, is we tend to reach for the uncommon thing and go to places that other bands might not. So for bands who use chords, they might see the major 2 and say, you don't see a major 2 chord that often. Minor 7 chord. Okay. So that's also
usually the 7 chord's a diminished chord, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's diminished 7. Yeah. Yep. And 2's usually minor. Yeah. So just having fun with the fact that we don't follow any of the rules when we're songwriting, and we definitely change up our chords a lot. I mean, that's something I think that we're known for, sort of our chordal sound, our palette, if you will.
The I was wondering if you considered one of these albums to be quote unquote older than the other. Did you, for example, did you finish one before the other?
To me, they're both from the same, I guess, pretty much. I mean, they feel old because, like you said earlier, 2018 is when we start. I mean, we had Jordan came up and cut the drums on these things. Jordan, you were up probably in 2018, 19, 2020, and you were done by then, right? Tracking drums.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but I mean, there's sessions. I mean, I would listen to mixes and I was like, I don't even remember. Like, I remember playing the drums, but I can't even figure out when this was. And usually I have like really specific memories of sessions and equate all this stuff, especially because like I live in Nashville, but I'm from Philadelphia, so I would go back to like visit my folks or go back for a family event, or I'd be on tour with someone else, and I'd have some time free in the middle of the tour, and I would schedule time with Brett, Ray, and Chris to get in the studio and cut some stuff. And there's like some stuff I was listening to, was like, this is definitely me. Like, these are decisions I would make, but I cannot recall what was going on that day or what the circumstances of me of even being in Philly for. But like, so anyway, yeah, it's hard for some reason. And I think it was because it was all such a whirlwind. I would get, not demos, but the songs as they existed at the time when I was coming in to cut to, and I would kind of be listening and trying to absorb it, and I'd make some cheat sheets and kind of just get in, and we would record we would do a lot in those sessions. So that's probably why my brain hasn't like stuck all these specific memories to the music of making the music.
It's a great point when you think about it. Jordan brings up a good point that I think Chris and Ray would echo, that the time that we spent together working on these songs really, even though it's over years, it really wasn't that long, because we would just get together for a long day at Chris's house or up at my house, and we would knock out a lot of stuff. And same thing when Jordan came up and tracked the drums. I mean, he and I would just go through them. And then that was it. It was like a couple takes, and we were moving on immediately. So none of that's, even though it was over this long period of time, it was really fast. So that's a cool thing about this record that's really different. It's definitely not belabored. I think the thing that took the longest was the mixing, and even that went pretty quick, in a sense that Glenn and I just sat down and we just started knocking them out, just a day, whatever, and just made it happen, so it's weird. It took a long time, but I think of that was because of the distance that we all are apart from each other and the amount of other things that we have going on in our lives. But the actual songs really came fast, and it's fortunate, or I feel fortunate, to have people that we can make music that quickly and that authentically, and that most powerfully that way. It's pretty cool.
We know how to lock in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My understanding is that when this first began, Brett, you didn't know this was going to be an Echolyn album, right? This was you guys, just you and Chris getting together and doing some stuff, and then it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah, it was Chris and I. Maybe one or two times I went to Chris's place, and then we asked Ray, and Chris, I think we still weren't sure even after that first time with Ray, because we just were like, let's try to write some things. And then I mean, then it was like, I wonder what Jordan's doing. And as soon as he got on board, I mean, it just was like, this is obvious. Because all over the years, one of the things I want to bring out from 1989 to now is you're looking at, myself, Ray, and Chris are the ones that wrote the songs. I mean, we did all that stuff. And with Jordan, it became even more streamlined and quicker to be able to do that because he's such a reactionary drummer. There's no belaboring anything. The four of us have a really good shorthand. And even though Jordan wasn't there per se in the writing process, he deeply affected the way the song arrangements happened, because there's lots of times where he'd play things and then I'd go back into Pro Tools and rearrange things based on grooves and extending sections or shortening them. So it was a really cool process of the four of us just having a really interesting shorthand and ability to just work through things quickly. It's nice.
I think out of the first few times that we got together, I think
there's a layer of trust too.
Yeah, we got on We Blur together those first couple days.
Yeah,
good memory.
And then I think the last one we did was Time Has No Place, correct?
Yeah,
that was the final.
So there's a little bit of time on each album.
All right, interesting. The thing that I find as a listener to your music over the years is that it's been a real joy to listen to how you've found your voices in the vocals. The vocals have always been very prominent, very much a feature of your music. But I feel like as the time goes on, you're really kind of grown as vocalists, the two of you. Sometimes you can't even tell which one of you is singing. And beyond that, it's the harmonies. It's also the counterpoint, and these parts that fly in and kind of layer over each other has just become this on these two albums is just, I think you've hit a new peak that you've just reached in terms of the way you've structured the vocals, the way you've arranged them. And I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the process when you're putting these songs together and you've got the lyrics and you're singing them. Do you hear this stuff in your head ahead of time, or do you go with the basics and then add on top of that?
For the vocals, it's usually if the three of us are writing, it'll be, we're like, here's a spot where we'll have some vocals and we'll leave it a little bit more open and we'll sort of like, okay, here's a verse, here's another verse. So in the writing, but that we may not have any melodies or anything or words, but the three of us will think of that. And then usually Ray and I will start, once we have those ideas between Ray, Chris, and I, and Jordan actually, once he puts the drums on, then we start figuring out the melodies. And then, yeah, it's usually just Ray and I working on the melodies. Like sometimes it'll be distance wise where I'm like, Ray, you can take this one. And, he'll be like, you got this one. And sometimes we work together, like on Radio Waves, we just worked together on it. We sat right across from each other and just came up with the melodies, and those verses, we're just sitting there and we're in it's a safe place when we work together. So that means that you can improvise and do things and not be afraid of messing up or anything. It's just, you're just throwing out ideas and then inevitably something will be like, Ray, that's great. Let's do that, and we'll work on that and just figure it out. There's like a fearlessness there to that enables you to come up with lots of cool things that way. And it has to feel natural too. It can't be forced at all. It just has to feel natural. And I appreciate you saying, Michael, that our voices have developed over the years, because I agree with that. I think Ray's always been a really strong singer, more so than me. But over the years, we've just, I guess, it's like you get to know yourself and you get to know who you are, and you become a little bit more authentic, meaning you're really putting stuff out from yourself rather than your influences as much anymore. And you're really trying to, you're becoming yourself. And it takes a while to do it. It's a shame that a lot of bands aren't around long enough to just find that moment, in their lives. Because here we are, in our 50s and 40s or even 60, and it's like still trying to figure ourselves out. But I think it's getting better, especially with our vocals, and then with Chris comes in and, sometimes Ray and I will be like, oh, this will be cool for another third part. And then other times he'll come in and have an idea for things. And I think a lot of the vocals we just cut pretty fast up here, Chris. Like maybe one or two times he came up and I had a long list. We went through the songs and just went through them. And Chris and Ray and I were here, and Chris just threw down ideas that we all had or he had, and we just cut them. It worked out great. Mm-hmm. And we all know how to make each other's voices fit in with each other in a nice way.
We know our ranges well. We know where we should be singing, how, and we treat our voices like another instrument.
Yeah.
Yes, they're singing words, but we're treating it like almost like an orchestra, like another layer or texture that has to complement the song. If it's going to go against the song, you're probably singing the wrong thing.
Yeah. We try to do. Jordan, do you sing all or not?
Just to my son.
Gotcha.
I think for me, getting back to the vocals, just thinking, listening to everybody talk, when we first started out, I was more telling you something. You got to listen to me because I know what's right. And over the years, that's kind of softened, and I kind of have it more. I want to have more of a conversation, make it a little more. You talk to me, we'll go back and forth rather than not pointing in the chest anymore.
I agree, Ray. I'm the same way, dude. Totally agree.
I think it, mellowed out anger wise, and it's more, there's more things going on in life now that are more important that we're talking about in these songs.
Yeah.
The talk about lyrics brings me to a natural point to talk about the vocals, to talk about the lyrics, because the lyrics on all but two songs are credited to Brett and Ray, and then Ray has sole credit on Our Brilliant Next and on We Blur. And I got to tell you guys, the lyrics on this album and lyrics in general in Echolyn's catalog are poetic as hell. I don't always know what you guys mean, but it always makes me feel something. Like, I might not know what a line means, but I know it's supposed to make me angry, or supposed to feel happy, or I'm supposed to feel sad from this line. I love it. I love the ambiguity to it, but also the tremendous wordsmithing that you guys do. And it's crazy to me that more than one of you is involved, because it doesn't seem like a natural thing for two people to be on the same page and be this poetic. So I was wondering if you could take me through the lyric process when you guys write lyrics. Does one of you write a section, like a verse, the other write a chorus? Do you work them out together? How does that go?
I'll start with On We Blur. I think I had a bunch of stuff written about an old job where I worked, and it just felt natural to get that out first for me. Some of the other songs, I would get stuck in parts, and like in cul-de-sacs and tunnels, I got stuck in the middle. I asked Brett, you have anything for, that you can put into this? And boom, sent me over some stuff, and it just fit the old melody, and it's magic. And I think Time Has No Place, Brett and I sat with Katie in his living room for a day and just bounced lyrics, words, sentences, crazy shit back and forth. And I think we came up with a brilliant piece of work.
Yeah.
On We Blur, I was curious about that, because that phrase appears in Water in Our Hands also. And that was one of the things where I was like, I don't know what On We Blur means, but it sounds really good.
Yeah, if somebody asked you that, Michael, I mean, what would you say? Like, what does that make you feel? What is that when you think about you and time and the blurriness of, like, what does that even make you feel like? That's what we're trying to say. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that you have something with that. It ties in with something for you personally.
Yeah, that's what I love about your lyrics, is that you can make it as personal as you need it to be. It's
yeah, I think Ray and I both, we're not trying to be ambiguous with stuff. We're just trying to connect with people without telling them. Like Ray said, this is a song about, X. We're trying to, all the things that we've written about are directly, extremely personal. They have to be, or else it wouldn't be authentic. It would just be us, reading the news. So it's all very, very, very personal. And Ray's kind enough to expound on directly what some of that stuff is. But a lot of times, frankly, he'll tell me, he'll sing something and I immediately connect with it, but it means something completely different to me in a super personal way. And that's one of the reasons I like his words, because he may be talking about whatever it may be very specifically, but it also in a very specific way, it's connecting with me, but in a completely different way that's very specific. So I like that about the stuff that he and I write, and we're trying to get better at it. I think that that's something that we really strive for. And, everything that we've written, I think in our lives is time stamped to what we're going through at the time of our writing. So, that's pretty much, that's where all that stuff comes from.
Yeah. Like I said, the way that you guys sing and you emote when you sing, that clues the listener in, this is an angry moment. This is a sad moment, a poignant moment, whatever it might be. And we may not connect to the exact thing that you're going through, but we kind of connect to the feeling of what you're going through.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So I think you guys have outdone yourself lyrically and vocally on this album to a point that I mean, it's not like it wasn't there before. It's just, I think you've reached new levels on this set of albums.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Jordan, were you going to say something, Jordan?
I just wanted to throw something out that I feel like a lot of people, a lot of humans, for some reason, specifically with songs and lyrics, we feel the need to need to know what the person meant. Whereas, we're happy to argue over the tone of the Mona Lisa for centuries, and we're happy to argue about the last scene of Taxi Driver, and we're happy to argue over the kitchen scene in Goodfellas. But like when it comes to lyrics, and there are some lyrics that you're spoon-fed, there's a lot of like classic country that's like, this is just what this means. This is a story about, this is a story with a beginning, middle, and end, and we get the moral, and it's like you can apply the moral to your life in a very direct way. But like I think most great art, like I would counter, Michael, you said like we know when you want it to be angry and we know when you want it to be sad. We just don't know exactly what you're specifically referencing. I don't even know if I agree with you on that. I think I feel whatever I feel when I hear what I hear, and if it moves me, it moves me. You know what I mean? And like I don't think we as a collective, as listeners, not we Echolyn or not we creators, but just we listeners, like should forget about trying to like all agree on what it means. Is like just whatever it means to you is all that matters, and if it moves you, it moves you.
Yeah, I agree.
If you misunderstand it completely, like that implies that there was some specific formula that you were supposed to know to begin with, which is not the case with art ever.
Yeah.
So I think it's like all my favorite songs, I have no clue what they mean, but they mean a lot to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there as an aside.
No, it's true, especially when you like you were bringing up cinema, Jordan. Like you can take a pop song, like Paul Thomas Anderson just used Steely Dan's "I'm a Fool to Do Your Dirty Work." He put it in his new movie One Battle After Another in a scene, and I watched that and I was like, oh, that's so cool. This song's a great song. I've always loved it. It never had that meaning for me that he's using it for, but immediately it affects the shots and all that sort of stuff in there. And I think that's what I like what Jordan's saying, because whatever you're listening to, it's part of your moment when you're listening to it, and that's where the meaning comes from and all that kind of stuff. It's really neat.
Yeah. And I probably explained poorly, but what I was kind of getting at is that I'm not trying to get into what Ray is feeling when he wrote lyrics or what Brett is feeling when he wrote lyrics, but the way they sing it clues me into a feeling that I bring out of it. But and I can tell that by the way that you emote that you were feeling a particular mood. but I don't know what you were feeling it about necessarily. And occasionally you can pull things out of some of the lyrics, but then sometimes I think it's easier with some bands than others, as you were saying. Some of it is pretty much spoon fed, and I kind of like it both ways. I was talking to somebody not too long ago about John Anderson, and Yes is one of his favorite bands, but he has no idea what the hell John Anderson's ever talking about. But it doesn't keep him from, connecting with the music and enjoying it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, over the years, we've gotten criticism for your lyrics are too ambiguous. I don't really know what you're singing or talking about. And then we have you here tonight saying, I love the fact that I don't always know what you're singing about, because it takes me to a place of my own deeper meaning, that I'm in the zip code with you, even though I might not be following along with the same line. So it goes to show, back to kind of what Jordan said, everyone's going to listen and receive art in a different way. And for some people, it's going to go right over their head. And for other people, it's going to hit them right in the heart. And it's a cool thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a writer, so I don't necessarily need to, I don't need you to say, the night was hot and she left, didn't even bother closing the door. It's just, I don't need that. But like when I get to a passage like 100 million shimmering photons bounce across the waves, calling from some emerald garden where time has no place. I don't necessarily know what you're getting at, but I love the way those words fit together.
Science.
Yeah.
Yay, science.
I enjoy it. I just love the way you fit things together. I think it works on
all you got to do, like Jordan said, just look at the Mona Lisa smile, and then you'll understand what that phrase means.
So let's get back to Jordan. Jordan, I want to talk to you about your drumming on this, and I was curious if there was anything that you did on this record that you weren't sure, how am I gonna approach this? Like, what was the most difficult moment on the albums, I guess, is what I'm asking you.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't. This is not meant to sound overconfident or conceited, but a lot of stuff, most stuff just kind of isn't challenging anymore. And I say that because I refuse to overthink things at this point in my life and in my career and my connection to the art that I get to make. Like if something is just incredibly complicated and hard to execute, like I was working on some tracks for somebody today from my house, and they were just plainly very fast. The tempos were just really quick, and what was expected of me dramistically was just very laborious and very, athletic. That kind of stuff aside, just like pure physicality aside, I'm not really interested in overthinking things. Like I'm really curious what my instincts tell me. And I also, to play devil's advocate with myself, I do believe in like moving past your initial instincts and like seeing where else you can go. Cause like we were talking about with lyrics, that you listen to the same set of lyrics 10 times, you might get 10 different impressions. And so like the first thing I come up with drumming wise, when I hear a demo or I hear like the skeleton of a song, might not be what I would have wanted to do on the 10th take or something. But in all, like if I'm in a room with people I've known for 30 years, making music together where, I'm not only trusting my instincts, but I know they're trusting my instincts, and I'm trusting them to be honest with me about their impressions of what I just played. That completely deflates all of my need to worry and be over anxious or overthinking, like, oh, well, maybe they didn't like what I put. Maybe that was the wrong thing. Maybe I should play something more complicated here. Maybe I overdid it over here. It's like, no, like I'll know and they'll know, and we all trust each other to say it when we hear it or if we don't hear it. So I'm sorry I don't have like a specific moment to point to, but it's just like, I think that isn't, it's just not a part of my like creation process anymore. Definitely was many years ago for sure, but now it's just more about like recognizing my instincts and going with them, and trusting the other people in the room will be like, that was cool, but it's not quite what we're going for. I mean, we were thinking really more this kind of thing. What do you think about that? Then we can have a dialogue about it.
At the end of Water in Our Hands, there's that's part of the video actually that's out there. There's a second verse of the song where Jordan comes in and it swings. It's like at a, you know, Jordan, I don't know if it's 3/4 or 6/8, but that's like a really hard thing to do with that kind of sparseness, that especially with the guitar parts, because I'm doing different accenting on ups and downs. And when you're a session person, that's one of the first things you're paying attention to, right? Up, down, that kind of thing. And he, you know, just came up with it, and it just was perfect. Like I've worked with so many other people where that wouldn't have worked, but he filled that space up with more space and just with feel that was, you know, to me, I was like, this is amazing. And the same thing with Time Has No Place. There's a section in there that's, you know, it's in 15/8, big deal. But what he played in that is just really interesting, and actually made it feel better and less complicated. He actually brought it together and sort of concerted the energy and made it drive even more than make it feel tricky with what he played. And I remember when the first time he was tracking, it was just he and I, you know, working on it. And he was playing the drums, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, you know. And I think he might have done like maybe 2 takes on it and just did a couple things, but I thought we were going to be there for like, you know, a half an hour or an hour working on it, but it was perfect. It was great. And you know, he just sits there and writes the parts out. All right, I think I got it. Goes and plays it. I'm like,
let me go try this.
Bastard.
Well, you know, I kind of like, I have memories of recording cowboy poems, you know, back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And like, I think not only the parts of my like musical taste and my musical instincts, but like, I mean, truly like the parts of my brain were like coming together as I was so young at the time, that I think like, I remember having the thought of like, I wonder how I can make this sound less complicated. You know, like we'd have a passage that was like pretty tricky and pretty mathy or like whatever. I'd be like, I wonder what like if, you know, what the trick would be to make it not sound tricky, you know, like what. And I remember like just that all of a sudden became like this North Star that sometimes was starting to appear then, and has appeared all the time in my life when I'm presented with music that is on the trickier side. You know, and tricky can mean a million things, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're speaking very generally here. And it still exists today. You know, I you know, whether I'm recording really down the middle, you know, popular backbeat music in Nashville, or it's super complicated proggy stuff in a variety of other kind of sub styles, like it's never, it's just kind of like I'm skipping over the like, what can I do with this to make it sound fun and weird and crazy, and I'm skipping right like to the end result I'm going for right away is like, how do I make this sound like it's not this?
Yeah, well, that's just your instinct to it's about the song. It's not about the parts, right? And that's one of the reasons I like playing with Jordan. It's just because he's a song guy, just like all of us are. And you know, you could mess like that part I was telling you about, this 15/8 part. He could have done something completely wacky over top of it, but now you're losing the lyric and the energy and the emotion that's going in there. Instead, what he's doing is he's serving it. He's serving us that thing, and that's what you want with a drummer. You want that all the time, and actually anybody. Chris is the same way with his keyboard parts. Serves the song. Same thing with Ray's bass parts. Same thing. Serve the song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Echolyn is a band. This is not a solo project with a bunch of guys who buy in. Mm-hmm. It's like, we're in. Like this is who we are and what we do. And I love what Jordan said. Every one of us is open and honest to the point that if we're laying something down and someone's in the room like, I'm not so sure the right path. It's painful to hear that, because you're like, oh, I was just getting into that part. But I'd rather know now before it's recorded then find out 3 years from now, like, yeah, man, we always hated that part, but we just let you go ahead and do it anyway. It's like, no.
Even if you're laying a part down and someone says, I don't know if that's the right avenue to travel up on this, man, but you really believe it is, but you haven't gotten there yet. It's like, no, let me flesh this out before we fully abandon it. Like, that's a part of the conversation.
Yep.
You know, like we've
Always.
all been in situations in the studios where like the in-depth interpersonal like subtext of that interaction is not possible because of egos or because of anxiety or because of you know, insecurities or whatever, or just even just time. Like studios are expensive, you know, and like that's a real bummer. But when you're in a situation where it's like, I appreciate that you're being honest with me, and I want to be honest with you, I haven't nailed it yet. So before we veto this, can you like just give me 2 more passes? Let me flesh it out. And if we still hate it in 10 minutes, we'll abandon it.
Absolutely.
And when the whole room can be like, absolutely, that sounds great, go for it. Like that gives you even more like artistic encouragement and energy to like really get into whatever it is you're working on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said.
I imagine that's kind of like when you write a verse for a song and you're writing the lyrics and you're like, I like where this is going, but it's not there. And maybe you just need to flip a couple lines or move it around or you know, add something to it.
We did that with Tiny Star from the moment, you know, Ray and I started writing the words till we finished. We were just trying to find that thing. And I think we finally found it. And it came out so beautiful, but it took a long time. Like you said, Michael, you know, you're sort of following this one thing and you got to flip it around and you're kind of seeing where the emotion goes and trying to make everything feel homogenous and direct, you know, and trying to say something. So yeah, I agree.
We laugh about a thing called demo love too, where you can have an original version of something. And then as you're approaching the time to record it, the music changes and or the lyrics change. And there's always someone who's like, no, that was my favorite part. And it's like, you'll get over it because it's not serving the song.
Demoitis, bitch.
It needs to.
It really is demoitis.
There you go. One of the things that, as far as prog rock goes, and you know, Chris, you talked about being progressive rather than prog. When you think about prog rock, you think about, you know, very often you think about electric guitar. You think about synths and synth sounds and synth tones and that kind of thing. What I love about these 2 records is the use of piano and acoustic guitar. It's very prominent in these 2 albums, and it gives it a different feel. There's nothing less complex about it because you use acoustic instruments. It's just you're taking, it's almost like a rustic approach to prog.
Organic.
Yeah.
Organic prog.
That's true. I like that.
A lot of it, Michael, that's how the songs were written. And although we've always written our songs that way, I think we were more wed this time to keeping that original stamp and sound, because I wrote all the songs on As the World on piano, but then I had this arsenal of synthesizers where I'm like, I'll play this on my Korg and this on my Ensoniq and this on my Nord. And I always felt like I had to orchestrate everything with a sound. At the end of the day, it was all written on piano. So for this album, the fact that these guys were often coming down to my place in Southern Delaware, all I had in my piano room was an upright piano. They'd lug in a bass and a guitar. We'd write the songs, set up a flip camera and record them. That was the demo, so to speak. As we started saying, well, what will these songs sound like? And we bring Jordan along. It's like, well, let's kind of leave them the way they are. And then we'll just add the occasional overdub. You can hear, obviously, there are some synths. There's some Wurlitzer. There's some Fender Rhodes, some Mellotron. But it's all taste. It's all, we're like flavoring the song with those things. The piano, for me at least, is the back, the body. And then for Brett, it was combinations of electric and acoustic.
Yeah, mostly for me, it was just getting out of the way of the piano, because I tried not doing that, but in the end, I was like, you know what, let's just, I'm going to make sure that there's room for the piano, and I came up with the sounds to accommodate that. Because again, serving the song, it was easier for me to do that than to have Chris come up and re-record synths and all that. It was just easier and quicker, keep it more direct.
Yeah, I get the urge to play with all your toys.
Yeah.
But I do like the way that you stuck to those instruments, and even sometimes use the acoustic with the synth and the piano with the electric guitar.
Yep.
And it made for, I feel like just the vibe of the album is fantastic. And I do also want to talk about the production, because I feel like this is a magnificent sounding album, or these albums. I think of them as one, even though there are two, but
yeah.
Two released at the same time, twin albums, whatever you want to call them. But I feel like you're reaching also new heights in the production and the mixing and the mastering and the way it sounds. It's probably as close to hearing stereo in 5.1 as you can get. I'm listening in headphones and wishing I had a surround sound version of these albums.
Brett.
I mean, we've had the offer to do those kind of things, but I don't know if it's financially feasible. I'd love to sit in a studio and do a surround sound thing. What's the right word for it, Jordan? Not surround, it's Atmos mix. Yeah, an Atmos mix. Yeah, I would love to do that. I mean, we know places in Nashville that do nothing but that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I guess, like, how would you listen to that, Michael? Would you have a set of headphones or speakers in a room to accommodate?
Well, I have a 5.1 system. Atmos is for 7.1 or 7.2.
It's got the top and bottom too. Yeah.
I don't have the Atmos, but I have some Atmos discs, but it does what's called folding down to a 5.1. It's still high definition surround sound. So you're hearing things left, right, front, back, that kind of all just comes together. And some artists, or it's not even the artists, it's whoever does the mix. Some of them are very gimmicky, but some of them add so much. I mean, if you get a Steven Wilson album that's done in 5.1, it sounds amazing. It's like you're enveloped in the music. I prefer listening to surround sound than any other medium, but as again, these albums are so well produced. There's so much space between the instruments. Everything has room to breathe. And I really, as a listener, appreciate that. You didn't cram it in. It's not brick walled. Again, you talked earlier about, you learn your craft as you go, and you get better at it.
Yep.
And I think you would agree that you guys have gotten better at self-producing and
yep.
and being happy with the final mixes.
Yeah, no, we really I agree with you. I'm really happy with the way these turned out. Glenn Rosenstein mixed these things and mastered them too, and we all sat in. Were you guys down for the mastering? I think you were there for the one day that we were doing it, but yeah, we mastered all this stuff, through some great gear, and we didn't slam it, Michael. I'm glad you noticed that. Like, there's full scale, so we're aware of that, but it's not. There's still a lot of dynamic range in these songs, so they don't sound. If you put them against something that's really slammed, they're going to sound quieter. But I'm a big proponent of just turn the volume up if you want it to be louder, because the dynamic range is there, and that's what makes things feel like there's some intensity and breadth to them because of that. And we really tried to keep that, not only the dynamic range, but also the space too, of where things are. And we weren't afraid to mute. Let's put ways that way, where I was just like, no, don't need that guitar. Don't need that one. But we don't need that over there. And just get rid of it. And all of a sudden things come into place. It's really nice.
Yeah. So that's editing. In literature, editing is taking out everything that's not the story. So I'm guessing it's no different in music.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Yep.
That's not the song. Take that part out.
Yep, exactly.
All right. So you guys have had a while to live with these albums. They came out in March, and we're here recording in November. What has the response been like for you guys? Have you been able to do anything live together? And like, what's next for Echolyn?
Go ahead, guys.
I'm just blown away by the overall response. I think most people are shocked we're still together, amazed we're still making this level of art, thrilled that we're not recreating our old selves. Not that there was anything wrong with that, but I think like most adventure journeys, you want to go somewhere new. And we did. And I think a lot of our fans and friends are excited by that. The piece I'm finding is I'm kind of running the social media, Facebook, Instagram accounts. We're picking up hundreds and hundreds of new fans and people, younger generation. Someone who teaches middle and high school. I have a lot of Echolyn fans at the school where I teach because these kids are watching these new videos that we just recorded. They're like, Mr. Buzby, your band doesn't sound like anything that's on the radio. That's cool. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. We'll keep listening. Like there's more out there. So I love that it has a universal appeal. We have 80-year-old fans, and we now have 6th graders who like Echolyn, 11-year-olds. So the fact that we have somewhere everywhere in between of people who are actually eager and yearning for something new and different, and we can offer that because we are something still new and different. It's just awesome. It's just a cool wave to be riding. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm excited for what will happen next. I don't know when that will be. I don't know what it will be, but I'm already sitting on a couple new songs that I've just been noodling around with in my classroom. Whenever I have a free period, I have a baby grand that sits in my room, and I just sit and sometimes play the new album, but I also sometimes start writing and I'm like, what is that I'm playing right now? I'm like, hang on, let me record this real quick. That could be something new. These guys haven't heard any of it yet. But that's how the Time Silent Radio albums happened. We were sitting on little caches of ideas for years that we were able to toss each other's way. So that was pretty cool. Ray, how about you?
Excuse me, what was the question? No. I'm really humbled that with the response that we've been getting, like Chris said, we're still getting, a lot of new people that haven't heard us before, and it's really cool that we're connecting with more people now. We haven't been able to play live yet. We did get a chance to do the 2 videos that Chris was talking about, but there's always something that we can get, maybe do a live video together. That would be the first step to playing live again. But I'm psyched. We're still pushing at our age.
Yeah. It would be, I think it'd be great to have an Echolyn live DVD to watch you guys in action. I feel like some of these songs would be very difficult to replicate live in terms of there's so many little subtle parts that some of them would have to get, triggered or left out maybe to serve the live experience. But,
if you watch us play May, it's an album we put out in 2002. We did a show at the Sellersville Theater. Somebody bootlegged it, put the video up of that, but that's what it's like. I mean, the heart of the songs are still there. The sort of little embellishments and bells and whistles, like you're alluding to, Michael, they may not be there, but that there's also a live intensity that comes out even more so that sort of makes up for missing pieces of sounds that don't happen to be there. So we've learned from the past, I mean, because we've had string arrangements, horn things, all kinds of extra stuff. But when we play it live, there's an energy there that just makes up for it. And you don't miss the heart of the song because that's definitely something that's always going to be part of it.
Yeah. I would say a lot of people, you don't hear a lot of people saying that Gentle Giant wasn't a good live band, even though they're no way to replicate their songs.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the great live bands out there, and you don't miss anything. If you could be like, oh, nobody's doing that thing there, but it's just great what they did. It was awesome.
All right, so the albums are Time Silent Radio 2 and Time Silent Radio 7. You can go to echolyn.com, find out all you need to find out there to get them. You can stream them on the services. They're out there for you. I got to talk to the folks over at Tidal because they've they got a typo in on we blur. They've written it as one we blur.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to get them to take that E off of there.
Thank you.
But yeah, I appreciate you guys telling me about this record. These records, you guys have had these out for 8 months now, and it's rare that I get to revisit, something that's been out for a while with the band, and I've never gotten to do that with the whole band before. So I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you for hanging in there for those 8 months. I mean, it's great. Yeah, and like you're saying, Michael, even though we put these out last March, when we put the video out, the reason we made those videos in June was because we wanted to like get a little bit of a bump at this time of the year, and we just thank you so much for being part of that, just to get this stuff out there, because it's new to so many people. Like Chris just said, I mean, there's hundreds of people that are finding out about this stuff that had no idea, and that's really cool.
Yeah. One thing I like about these two records, this is a large hint. They're perfect length for vinyl.
Yes. Well, we wouldn't be able to get water in our hands on one side. That would really affect the quality, because you really don't want to exceed 20 minutes on a side with vinyl. I mean, and even that's pushing it, so that's why it's same thing with May. We have a 45 or 50-minute song, and that can't be on vinyl. It's just one song, and you'd have to cut it in half and figure out how to make that work. So
yeah, that would be tough.
Tough. I mean, despite the fact that we all grew up listening to vinyl, it's not something that we hold as this reverent thing. I mean, just remember, when you put vinyl on, that's the best you're ever going to hear it that first time. After that, it starts to degrade every time you listen to it.
Yeah, that's why I like the 5.1. Guys, thank you, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope it continues to do well for you. I've been enjoying the video. It looks like you guys had some fun making it.
We did. Yeah, we did. Good. It was just good to see each other, give each other a hug.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks for telling our story and continuing to spread the word. We greatly appreciate it.
All right, big thanks to Echolyn. Appreciate it. Go check them out. And thanks everybody for watching.
See you guys.
Have a great night. Thanks.